Indy Mogul.
This week on Indy News, the origin of the MPAA movie rating system, who decides what ratings films get, and more insider info from the woman in charge. Canon's new Rebel T5i, a cat haiku video, and a free template to help you design your new YouTube channel art. Hey Indy Mogulers, Griffin here. It's been almost 13 years since I last cared about movie ratings. I was turned away when I tried to see Shaft because I was only 16. But one of the most interesting panels I attended at the South by Southwest Film Festival was a debate about movie ratings in the US. Film critic Scott Weinberg argued that movie ratings are too strict on sex and language, and too lax on violence. Think of all the death you see in a PG-13 action film. But I also learned lots of interesting facts from Joan Graves, the head of the MPAA rating system. So today I'll share what I learned, how movie ratings started, how they work, and what that means for films. In the early days of film, producers realized that sex and violence sells tickets, just like spring breakers today. But a religious and political backlash caused movie studios to institute censor boards, which denied any film that didn't abide by the Hays Code, a strict document banning profanity like hell and damn. Provocative undressing, even kissing in bed is too lustful. No illegal drugs, interracial relationships, or ridicule of the clergy. After 35 years, Americans no longer wanted to censor these kinds of films. The 1966 film Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is full of sexual content, profanity, and alcohol, but was nominated for 13 Oscars. So the MPAA established a new rating system in 1968. G for anyone, M suggests parental discretion, R restricts persons under 16, and X-rated films for adults only. This new system was voluntary. Films don't have to get rated. But as we know today, films that don't get rated might not get shown in theaters. At the panel, Joan Graves reminded us that the ratings are designed to provide information for parents. That's why an independent board of parents decides the ratings for each film. But often, parents are biased. Joan remembers how many parents wanted Titanic to be rated R. Not because of the hundreds of frozen dead bodies, but because of 20 seconds of nudity. Many dads simply didn't want to have to sit next to their daughters uncomfortably watching that scene together. The PG-13 rating didn't actually even exist until 1984, after a bunch of moderately violent films like Temple of Doom and Gremlins received PG ratings. The MPAA also added the NC-17 rating in 1990 to replace the X rating, which had become synonymous with pornography. Generally, if a film uses the F word 5 times, it'll be bumped up to R. During the panel discussion, Vincenzo Natali, who directed Splice, a film that depicts interspecies sex, talked about receiving an R rating. He was fine with that. He actually was worried about getting an NC-17 rating, which would have decreased his audience. Joan Graves explained that any theme, even interspecies sex, can be depicted in a PG-13 film. It's how it's depicted that determines if it's upgraded to R or NC-17. Film critic Scott Weinberg worries that the MPAA is desensitizing young people to violence. He notes that Mr. and Mrs. Smith shows 75 deaths, and it's only PG-13. But Joan Graves had an interesting response. The MPAA conducts lots of focus groups to continually check what parents are concerned about in films. And for some reason, parents just don't care as much about violence than they do sex and language. Joan told the story of one woman who explained that she knows her kids will eventually have sex, they'll use harsh language, probably mimicking what they see in films, but parents just don't expect their children to be violent, so it's not something they're too worried about seeing depicted in films. Joan also shared that on average, the East and West Coasts are most bothered by violence in film, while Southerners care most about profanity, especially goddamn, and in the Midwest, sex is most concerning to parents. To learn more about the criticism of how the MPAA ratings are determined, you should check out the film This Film Is Not Yet Rated, which is rated NC-17. In other news, this week Canon announced the new Rebel T5i, which is pretty much exactly the same camera as the T4i, which wasn't that much different than the T3i. But I guess these are all pretty nice, relatively inexpensive options for filmmakers, so I guess why change a good thing? I have a couple videos that I produced yesterday that I think you'll like. One is a cat haiku video. These are fun. A haiku video is a 5-second shot, then a 7-second shot, then a 5-second shot. So you only have 17 seconds to tell your story. You should check mine out, but also you should make your own. They're so easy to make and add it to the fight. Also, now that the YouTube One Channel design is available to all YouTubers, I made a walkthrough video to take you through the new features. Plus, it has a link to download a free template to help you design channel art for your new channel. And finally, I have this week's new and notable video contests. So, thanks for watching, and if you missed any of our coverage of the South by Southwest Film Festival, you should check out this playlist right here. It has all 15 episodes that we shot while we were in Austin, Texas. See ya.